So today I thought we'd talk about the cursed defense against the dark arts position at Hogwarts during the Harry Potter timeline, years 1 through 7. So I've been getting a lot of questions about this. Hopefully this clears a little bit up, but if you have any more questions, please drop them in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But the defense against the dark arts position was thought to be cursed because during the Harry Potter years 1 through 7, there was never a defense against the dark arts professor for more than a year. First was Quirinus Quirrell during the first year of Harry Potter's year at Hogwarts. The second during Harry Potter's years at Hogwarts was Gilderoy Lockhart. Third, Remus Lupin. Fourth, Alastor Moody, also known as Barty Crouch Jr. Fifth, Dolores Umbridge. Sixth, Severus Snape. And seventh, Amicus Carrow. Quirinus Quirrell. Many people believe that he was a professor at Hogwarts long before Harry arrived. This is actually false. Before Harry arrived in his first year, during the Philosopher's Stone, also known as the Sorcerer's Stone, he was actually in Albania the previous year before he met Lord Voldemort. Voldemort was struggling, and he convinced Quirrell to let him use himself as a host. Quirrell attempted to steal the Philosopher's Stone, aka the Sorcerer's Stone, but failed and died in Harry Potter's first year in a brutal way from magical burns. The second defense against the dark arts professor, Gilderoy Lockhart, was a celebrity fraud. He took the credit for other witches and wizards' accomplishments. Dumbledore hired him because of a lack of applicants. Quote from Hagrid, "It is getting very difficult to find anyone for the defense against the dark arts job. People aren't keen to take it. They're starting to think it's jinxed. No one's lasted for a while now." Later on, in Harry Potter's second year, Lockhart eventually goes to attempt to save Ginny Weasley in the Chamber of Secrets, despite attempting to get out of it. Lockhart attempted to cast a memory charm on Harry and Ron that backfired and hit him. He then became a permanent resident at St. Mungo's Hospital, and they were not able to restore his memory. Remus Lupin. Some argue that he was the best at the defense against the dark arts position during the period it's thought to be cursed. However, eventually he was exposed for being a werewolf and was forced to resign. In Harry Potter's fourth year, Alastor Moody was actually Barty Crouch Jr. using the Polyjuice Potion. But Alastor Moody was abducted by Wormtail and Barty Crouch Jr. during this year. Barty Crouch Jr., using the Polyjuice Potion, took Alastor Moody's identity and taught the class. During Harry Potter's fourth year in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Barty Crouch Jr. was exposed and removed from the position. Dolores Umbridge was the fifth professor. She was brought to the position by Cornelius Fudge during this year. Cornelius Fudge thought Albus Dumbledore was after his job, so he had Dolores Umbridge take the job because he thought Albus was trying to overthrow him. Dolores was eventually hauled away by centaurs. Despite being rescued, this ended her position as the defense against the dark arts professor of Hogwarts. Next was Severus Snape. Severus Snape wanted the defense against the dark arts position for years, but it is thought that Dumbledore never allowed him to have it because he didn't want the position to trigger his old Death Eater ways. The true reason, though, Snape was given this position was to have him complete a task. Before looking into Severus Snape's removal of the position, we have to take a step back in time and learn about Voldemort, aka Tom Riddle. So when Tom Riddle finished school, he asked Armando Dippet, that was the headmaster before Albus Dumbledore, for the defense against the dark arts position. Dippet told Tom he was too young and to reapply when he got older. Tom came back when he was older and reapplied. However, during this time, the new headmaster was Albus Dumbledore. Tom changed his appearance, and it's even described that his appearance had changed. It is thought that Albus Dumbledore figured that Tom had meddled with dark magic and did not want to expose his students, so he refused him the position. Before leaving Hogwarts, Tom placed the diadem, which was a Horcrux, in the room of requirement. Quote, Harry asked Dumbledore, "Was he after the dark arts job, sir?" He didn't say. "Oh, he definitely wanted the defense against the dark arts job," said Dumbledore. The aftermath of our little meeting proved that. You see, we have never been able to keep a Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher longer than a year since I refused the post to Lord Voldemort. So it is thought that Voldemort jinxed the job after getting refused the position, and whoever would have the position of the Defense Against the Dark Arts job would only last 1 year. Going back to Severus Snape, so the jinx is the reason Dumbledore didn't allow Snape to have the Defense Against the Dark Arts job, because he knew that if he gave it to Snape, then Snape would be forced out of the position. When Dumbledore gave it to Severus, it forced him to finish the mission he promised to fulfill. Snape was forced to complete his task of executing Albus Dumbledore and keep Harry alive until the end. Snape was forced to flee Hogwarts as a double agent after becoming headmaster of Hogwarts. The next was Amicus Carrow. He became the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor after Severus Snape, and only lasted 1 year until he spent the rest of his life in Azkaban prison. After Voldemort's death in the Battle of Hogwarts, the jinx was lifted. The jinx lasted from 1965. The battle took place in 1998. After Voldemort's death, the position jinx was lifted. 33 Defense Against the Dark Arts professors only lasted 1 year. What are your thoughts on the cursed Defense Against the Dark Arts position? What are your thoughts on the Harry Potter series? Drop your comments below. If you would like to know more about Harry Potter lore, subscribe to Chase and Josh Factor Fantasy Podcast. The link is in the bio, or you can subscribe to Ridiculous Patronus on YouTube. Thank you, everyone. Have a magical week.